What's up, YouTube? So I want to tell you about something that I noticed and that I kind of picked up on, and something that kind of hit me very recently. So about a week or two ago, I was at Walmart and I saw this black man, very, very, very dark-skinned black man. All right, very dark-skinned black man. All right, and he had two children with him. Um, a boy and a girl. And I assume those were his children. I believe they were his children. Um, but I noticed when I looked at his kids, I didn't see that very, 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 very dark skin tone on his kids. You know? Instead, I saw a much lighter skin tone, you know, on the lines of like beige, waffle colored, you know, a very light brown, high yellow, right? Right? With, a certain hair texture, low key, quote unquote, some good hair. Um, but then it kind of hit me. It's like, why doesn't his kids look like him as far as like his phenotype is concerned? Because I will say that your kids can look like you. They don't have to necessarily have the same exact racial features and phenotype as you. But the way that the kids look in like the face and like body structure and things like that, they can look like you. But yeah, it kind of hit me. I was like, why doesn't his kids have this phenotype? Like, and I also saw another man in Walmart who kind of was in a similar situation as him, right? And I'll say, like, in the area that I live in, I do, by and large, see dark-skinned people with dark-skinned people, or perhaps like dark-skinned and brown-skinned people together. All right, by and large, I do. On occasions, you will see, the light, the light skin with the dark skin, you know. um, Also, the interracial thing, you'll see, like, on occasion, usually a white person. But not all the time, though. It can be like a different ethnicity. Uh, yeah. But it kind of made me ask a few questions to myself, like, why didn't he pass on his phenotype to his kids? Not, like, just not like, Um, it's a little interesting. It really just gets you to start to think a little bit more. Mm. And perhaps he could just be one of those folks who just like, phenotype really doesn't matter as long as, the kids are mine, I don't, there's no big deal to it, because there are people out there who are like that. Um, you know, but there are also people out there who subconsciously and perhaps even consciously kind of feel the need to make sure that not only like their wife or significant other as well as their kids look a certain way. Now, I know that the folks who engage in this are probably not going to admit it. Although I think black women might be more upfront about this than black men are. And black men, engage in this too. Let's be real, they do. They just tend to not get called out on it. And they tend to be quiet about it. But you notice that, black women get shamed for it though. I guess maybe because they're just more vocal about it. But hey, at least they're being upfront and vocal about it. At least they're not hiding and ducking and, you know, saying things are one way when it's clearly not. Hey, they're just being real. Like, hey, this is what's up. This is how I get down. You know, and hey, I can at least respect that. Somebody just being upfront about it. And honestly, I think that makes it easier for a lot of people when people are just upfront about situations like this. You know, but I do think that dark-skinned black men, low key and even high key, kind of use the women that they're with as a form or a way of assimilation. You know, particularly when the woman is non-black or non-black adjacent. All right, because you know that counts too. I know it's a different thing. It is sort of mixing apples and oranges because one person is a part of the community and the other group is not a part of the community. But in this particular case, I'm going to put them in this category too. Because some folks think that we don't see. You know, like some of these dudes, they go as far away from blackness as possible without going over the edge. And it's like, hey, we see you. But yeah, I think sometimes, like, really, especially like really, really, really dark skinned men use non-black and non-black adjacent women as a form of assimilation. It's almost like a low-key like cosign. Like, this woman co-signed this dude, like, he's okay. Like, he's okay. Um, as well, I think when it comes to the kids, that is also kind of like a low-key form of assimilation too. And as well, I really think, and this goes oftentimes low-key unnoticed, but I really think there is some privilege that is at work when, say, you have like a dark-skinned parent who has children who are like lighter skinned and have certain features that are considered, desirable, like quote unquote light skin. Well, I don't know why I'm putting quotes with light skin. Light skin with quote unquote good hair, light eyes. Think about it. Like being a really, really dark skinned person, especially if you don't, have like the looks and you suffer, like there's dark skinned people who really do have like really great facial structures, right? And then there's some dark skinned people who tend to not have so great facial structures. And honestly, that's just across the board with all people of all groups and ethnicities. But I think when it comes to darker skinned people, I think featureism tends to play a part in it as well as skin tone, though. I think both of them do. So if you're like a dark-skinned person who kind of, perhaps doesn't have the, you know, most, I guess, desirable facial structure, you know, and you have kids that look a certain way, I think that there's low-key privilege in that. Because I think people respond really well to your kids. And thus, low-key, they kind of, in a roundabout way, are responding really well to you. And I think people, like, across the board, I think parents want people to respond positively to their children as far as their looks are concerned. Across the board, I don't think that's specific to any one group. But I think it's even more so with, like, when it comes to, like, let's say darker skinned people who perhaps maybe, had, got the jokes, the dark skinned jokes, who, even forget the jokes, just the straight up just disparaging of them having darker skin, right? And, low key, they could have internalized some things, and people usually don't perpetuate things in their life that they don't like, Of course, folks are never going to own up to it and admit it, you know. And I know that is kind of like a hard thing to admit. I agree, But I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. And I'm saying some, not all, because, it's not all, but it's some. I do think this is at play when it comes to a few people, quite a few people. But I'll present another scenario to you, or another aspect of this to you. Do you tend to see white men with brown kids? You really don't tend to see that much. Think about it. Do you really see white men with brown kids a lot? Usually if you do see them, it's like a bit weird to you, right? Maybe even a little suspicious to you, you know. Why do you think that is? Part of the reason could be that low key for that white man, having brown kids is sort of a step down for him. While I think for black men, particularly dark skinned and brown skinned black men, having a brown or biracial kid is low key a step up. Think about it. A lot of these biracial and mixed kids tend to have black dads. Heck, even within the community, like usually like the dad is dark skinned and the mom is light skinned or mixed. But let's bring it even closer, even more back into the community. Let's talk about light skinned, biracial, and mixed men. All right. Let's bring them into this. When it comes to biracial, light-skinned mixed men, do you tend to see them with kids that are significantly darker than them? And I'm not quite sure if, this honestly is a thing. This is kind of like a bit of a gray area here. On one hand, I do think there are light-skinned, biracial mixed men who do get with, brown-skinned and dark-skinned women and have kids with them. That does happen, of course, definitely, that happens. But oftentimes, I think from a genetics point of view, like, I'm not sure, like, this is going to sound a bit weird, but I'm not sure if, like, light-skinned dudes can have dark-skinned kids. I know that it is possible because I have seen it in my own family, at least brown skin, right? Like, I have cousins who are brown skinned and their dads are light skinned, but their moms are brown skinned. So they just happen to take on the skin tone of their mother instead of their father, right? And all of them are males, by the way. So that whole like, you are the seed of your father thing, right? Them genetics weren't hearing that, all right? Those genetics weren't hearing that, all right? And also, I'm like, like women do contribute. Like, you have to have a man and a woman to have kids. Like, you can't just have a man and have kids, It takes both a man and a woman. So the woman has to contribute her genetics as well, right? And I think low-key, because of the society that we live in, I think we low-key may kind of like want to marginalize even women's genetic contribution. I think we want to marginalize at times, especially when it's convenient, right? So, these whole like you're the seed of your father thing when it's convenient, right? But another video for another day. you know. But I'll say for the brown skin, well, for the light skin, biracial, and mixed men who are probably like in a black community setting of some sort, like grew up around black people, and I think for them, them trying to have kids, having kids with dark skinned women, and them having kids that are darker than them. First, I don't think it tends to happen as much just from a genetics point of view, but I think, like those guys may want it to happen, or at least just be open to just any skin tone, because I think they're in the black community, so them having kids that are darker than them may like low key solidify themselves in the black community. Like, hey, like, showing that they have made a commitment to, a black woman of a certain hue, right? And as well made even a stronger commitment as to, starting a family and producing children with her, black children, right? Making an, conscious choice to go towards blackness and perpetuate blackness, right? But one quick story before I leave, not leave, but before I end the video. I was at Walmart, a different Walmart, and I did see a light-skinned man, and he had, I assume his son, and I did notice like the son was darker than him, and that kind of low-key threw me for a loop a little bit because I'm just like, oh, and it kind of hit me. I'm like, I'm not really used to seeing light-skinned men with kids that are darker than them, even when they have like girlfriends or wives, baby mamas, whatever, who are like significantly darker than them, So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's something. But yeah, it's kind of just weird how things sort of go when it comes to genetics as well. Yeah. And I think for the lighter skinned biracial mixed men, I think that they may not really feel necessarily the need to like assimilate into, I guess, like broader society or like mainstream society or whatever. But I think more so in the black community, that's where their need to assimilate may come from. If they are with, if they are in the black community, right? And they were like raised in the black community, grew up in the black, well, I guess that would be the same thing. Raised, grew up in the black community, currently live in the black community, want to be a part of the black community, then I think that's where their, I guess, need to assimilate their, like, is focused on, right? Not so much like the mainstream society. And I think when it comes to them wanting to assimilate into mainstream, I think those light-skinned biracial dudes would just go for like white or non-black women. Which happens, but, then the kids come out looking pretty much white. So, I think for the light-skinned biracial dudes, it's like, either you're going to pretty much erase your blackness or you're going to perpetuate it. Yeah, that's the choice that you got. Like the brown skin, dark skin dudes, they got blackness to spare, From a genetics point of view, they do got more blackness to spare, usually. And so they may not kind of feel that same sort of, feel like they're in that sort of a situation where it's like one side or the other. It's like, either or, Like my kids still gonna kind of like have some blackness to them at least, All right, but let me bring this video to a close. I've gone on for long enough. Thanks for watching, you guys. Feel free to comment and let me, leave your feedback. What do you guys think? Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.